The devil bowed his head because he knew that he'd been beat, and he laid that golden fiddle on the ground at Johnny's feet. Johnny said, "Devil, just come on back if you ever want to try again. I done told you once, you son of a bitch, I'm the best that's ever been." That's a song called "The Devil Went Down to Georgia" by the Charlie Daniels Band from their 1979 album Million Mile Reflections. That's Joe's song choice of the week. And Joe, why'd you choose those lyrics?
That's a good question. It's multifaceted. First of all, nice to be here with you again, my brother. It's multifaceted. I wanted to diversify and keep being eclectic like I always preach. I wanted to walk the walk and not just talk the talk. And I figure I've been doing a good job of moving around from genre to genre. I realized that I hadn't really touched on a genre in and of itself, which is Southern rock. To me, it's a separate entity. It's a separate groove. There's country music, there's rock, and then there's that Southern fried rock, right? There's that Southern rock. I've been wanting for a while, for a couple of 3 weeks, thinking about, what am I going to do? I'm going to get to that genre, and what am I going to, and all of a sudden, I thinking that just the other day again, I'm thinking I'm going to touch back on Southern rock. And about 10 minutes later, I'm watching the TV and I saw somebody playing a violin. And it's just the thoughts were so close. I thought, oh, there it is. It's Charlie Daniels. I can't hear a fiddle without thinking about that song. And also that song to me. Now, of course, you're going to hear names in the future when I'm in this genre, like Leonard Skinner and the Allman Brothers, and all the way to Molly Hatchet and things like that. But to me, the quintessential Southern rock song that triggers me is this one, "The Devil Went Down to Georgia" by Charlie Daniels. It's a great song in general, in that it's unique. It takes you on a little story. Kind of captures you in the first couple of lines, The devil went down to Georgia. He was looking for a soul to steal. He was way behind. He was in a bind. He was willing to make a deal. And all of a sudden your head turns like, whoa, this isn't your average little love song or whatever. This is a little different. And he starts taking you on a story, on a journey. He's taking you through, in a story, down south and so forth, about this young man named Johnny standing in the woods, playing his fiddle and practicing. And I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but the devil shows up and he starts talking with him, and they want to see who's the better fiddle player. And it goes on. And the lyrics I chose were like the grand finale. Like if you ever go to a fireworks show and you see the fireworks and it's really cool and it builds up and builds up. And then in the last couple of 3-4 minutes, it just all hell breaks loose and the crowd goes crazy. So these lyrics here, when he says that, are the grand finale. And it's sort of like good triumphs evil. And it's just I've been in places, Sean, small bars. I've been in house parties where everyone's been partying all night, and then someone puts this song on, and at the end there, I mean, it's tantamount to going to the movies, and when the bad guy's car blows up and you know that he's gone or whatever, or when one of the kids kills Jason and he's floating to the bottom of the lake, and that that's it, it's over. Good triumphs over evil. It's one of those things. And it also, to me, I told you before, has another meaning to me, sort of. I told you before, I used to work with emotionally disturbed teens, and I would use this song as a vehicle to make aware some of the kids that were from some areas where, they may only listen to hip hop, or they may have a closed mind about music or this or that. I'd say something like, all right, I talked to them about hip hop because I was around when hip hop started, and I knew a whole lot more about hip hop than they even imagined. But after that, I'd say, now, how about this? Did you ever think you might something like this? And maybe I'll show them a picture of Charlie Daniels or something. And they said, no, I can't see myself like an any guy. And I can tell you time after time after time that I put this song on, and by the time it started in, the devil's, fire flew from his fingertips as he rosined up his bow and things like that. And they'd be like, whoa. And it's that, honest to God, it would really work. And the kids would love it. Kids from all over, all different, races and neighborhoods and so forth. They would love this song. and I would use it as a vehicle to prove to them that you can't judge a book by its covers. You got to try other things. You got to be open to new things, open to new music, and that opens the door maybe to open to trying new food. And then it also keeps going. Hey, if you didn't think you like that and you like this, you didn't think you like that and you like that. And pretty soon they start to realize that there are a whole lot more commonalities within cultures that they were ever aware of. So it was just one of those things too. But to go back to the very top, it's a kick-ass song. And another one of the last things, but it's really one of the first things, is any musician will tell you the most difficult instrument to learn how to play is the violin, the fiddle. It is just the most complex, arduous instrument to learn how to play. So, and the way this guy just rips it through, and just it's incredible. And it was just one of those things. So why did I choose it? I just gave you about a half a dozen reasons why, but it really is, it's a kick-ass tune. It's in the Southern rock genre. It has the violin, it sports the violin, and those lyrics are really, like I said, sort of like in a movie where the bad guy finally gets it and you're cheering for the good guy. And it's different. It's a very different song. It's a break from well, we were dating and you dumped me, or I saw you and you were cheating, or don't you still love me? Or it's a break from the normal subject matter of song. And don't get me wrong, some of the best songs in the world are songs about, amorous relationships, but it's a song about something different. He takes you on an imaginal journey, much the way the Beatles did, So
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah, I mean, I remember as a kid, my mom had it on in the car. And she was like, listen to this. And I was like, what is this? What is this song? And it was interesting. It was intriguing because it was a different type of sounding song. Because it's a classified as country genre and won a Grammy Award for best country performance by a duo or group. I believe around 1979. But it was played on like classic rock stations because I listened to a ton of that growing up in the car, classic rock stations. And I remember the song very clearly.
Yeah, and I mean they had to clean sometimes. At some parts they put "Son of a Gun" as the last part on the on some of the songs, so they could play it on radio stations, and it's still good. But there's just a little more emphasis when he says "SOB," And I've been in house parties where that would come on, and when they get to that line, you'd have about 80 people singing that last line, everybody just going crazy because it's just one of those, there's certain lyrics that do that,
Yeah.
So it was just one of those things, and I wanted to touch on that genre. Southern rock is what I call it, and you're going to be hearing a lot more from me. I mean, like I said, Leonard Skinner, the Allman Brothers, Molly Hatchet, the list goes on and on, but I wanted to just get that one out there first.
Absolutely. So today is Friday, end of the work week. So that's always a good feeling. I got to work tomorrow. I got to work on Saturdays. But for you, how do you feel about Fridays? Is it like, what a relief? Like, are you totally just like focused and just ready for your weekend? Just put your feet up on that chair and relax?
Oh, hell, I'm ready for that on Wednesday, but I'm ready for that every day. Just put my feet up and But yeah, Friday's always good. Only problem is, you breathe, you exhale, and it's Sunday night. But what are you going to do? If you're working a Monday to Friday job, that's the way it is. But some jobs are different, and some countries, Sean, believe it or not, this is no, it's not off topic. It is the topic. Some countries are going to a 4-day work week, whereas you work, 9 or 10 hours a week, or 10 hours a day for 4 days, and you get 3 days off. And there's no reason why eventually they're going to start maybe going to stuff like that here, because that life work balance type thing. But for now, yeah, I'm in the Monday Friday grind, so Friday is cool. How about you? Well,
Yeah.
you kind of said, yeah.
I mean, tomorrow I'm not working. I'm only working like, a quarter of my shift because Villanova's playing Providence at 4:30. And I have some vacation hours and personal time. I'm just like, you know what? As a diehard Villanova basketball fan, it would be offensive and appalling for me to miss this game. So I have no other choice but to leave work early and watch the game, sir.
Gotcha. Got you covered.
There's actually books about, like you just mentioned, about the 4-day, the 4-day work week or something like that. Like
Hmm.
I had a friend in college who was like reading the book. I'm trying to think of what it's called. Oh, it's called the 4-hour work week. Escape 9 to 5, live anywhere, and join the new rich, by Timothy Ferriss.
That might be a
Um,
little different than what I'm talking about, but go ahead.
it's got a 4.5 rating on Amazon. It was released in 2009, or I guess the updated version was. But it's really highly ranked. It's how to live more and work less.
Yeah.
Forget the old concept of retirement, the rest of the deferred life plan. Um, yeah, he said how Tim went from $40,000 per year and 80 hours per week to 40,000 per month and 4 hours per week. So it's probably more complicated than it sounds. Like this guy probably hit it big with something easy. He's just writing a book about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think what I'm talking about is a little something different that some other countries have already adopted. It's go to work 4 days a week, stay a little longer, and have 3 days off. That's all. I mean, no drastic changes in salary or anything like that. But what a lot of companies are finding out is when they offer this to people and the people accept it, they get more productivity out of people because the attitude is better. It's like, yeah, I'll stay the extra hour. I'll stay here and kick ass because I'm going to get an extra day, you know? So I like, and
Yeah, because if you
even
think
some
about it,
places, yeah, some places in our country are doing that, but eventually it may become the norm. Go ahead.
yeah, if you think about it, like if we just worked like 1 hour, because honestly, what happens on Fridays, people get lazy. People are just like, oh, it's the end of the week. I don't have to do anything. And some companies let their people leave early on Fridays.
Yep.
Um, sometimes you can, as long as if you're efficient as a company and you're efficient, if all your employees are getting their job tasks done and they're efficient, you really can cut off a whole day of work. You don't need that fifth day. You're right, Joe. I mean,
Mhm.
there's ways to improve the quality of people's lives where they can have that extra day. That extra day is huge. The extra day of so you don't have just the 2 days in the weekend where it's just Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah, and the
Um,
working at home thing. Then now the COVID kind of brought that about a little more. It kind of helped it along, but the working at home thing is becoming more and more popular too. And it's just another break from the old. They call it the old World War II. It was after World War II, the workplace developed more of a military type of, you punch in and you punch out, and you have to show up and you do. It was more of a military type of attitude that kind of drove that for the longest time. But we're far removed from that. We're getting near 80 years away from, so yeah, it's time for some new stuff. Before you move on, if you're ready to move on to your next topic, I just want to interject one thing if I can real quickly.
Go ahead.
Just our brothers and sisters over in Turkey are going through living hell right now, and I just wanted to offer thoughts and prayers, but also donations. I donated, and I know you donate as well, and I just wanted to thoughts and prayers are nice, but they don't feed the bulldog. You know what I mean? A lot of times people get slaughtered here in a massive shootout or whatever, or mass murder, and people come out and say, oh, thoughts and prayers are with you. You know what? I don't need your thoughts and prayers. I need you to vote for legislation that will preclude this kind of carnage from happening. But I digress. For this Turkey situation, anyone who's seen the news, these poor people are going through living hell, and I just would like to um, make it easy for people to. It's a very easy way to donate. If you have a phone and you can text, it's very easy. And text the word Red Cross, one word, Red Cross. Text the word Red Cross to the number 90999. Again, text Red Cross, one word, to the number 90999. An automatic $10 donation will go to those folks and any other folks who are victims of natural disasters. Thank you for giving me that time.
Appreciate it. Appreciate it. Um, so not next topic. We're still on the opening dialogue here, the free talk segment, which I'm learning to really enjoy the opening segment. We can talk about some stuff freely without being too organized. I
Right.
like that. I was in a Panera Bread last night and I was in the bathroom and I'm a real germaphobe. I carry a bottle of Purell in my pocket everywhere I go. I've been doing this for over a decade. People always thought I was nuts. So like, why do you need that little bottle of Purell? Like, we'll be about to eat dinner, I'm like, oh my God, you touched that, you touched that, you touched that. Well, Purell your hands before you pick up the bread. The bread, the bread basket comes and everyone's eating the bread right away. I'm putting Purell on my hands. I'm that type of guy. But this is way before COVID. So during COVID happened, everyone's like, oh my God, you were like, you were right. We have to be clean. Our hands are filthy. We can spread diseases and stuff. I'm like, yeah, I know. But anyway, I was in a bathroom last night. And what I have to do when I'm in a bathroom, people think that I'll just walk out of the bathroom without washing my hands. What I have to do now is I have to take out the Purell out of my pocket and start putting on the Purell as I'm walking out to show them that yes, I didn't wash my hands. However, I'm putting Purell on my hands. I probably have the cleanest hands in the friggin' state. You don't know
Right.
how many times I put on Purell on my hands, dude. I have it all over my apartment, have it all in my car, always in my pocket. Anyway, yesterday this huge fat, not judging fat people, but this guy was huge and fat.
He was
gentleman.
he was obese. He was obese.
He was obese, but
Right.
you'll understand why I'm calling him fat in a second. I finished peeing. He walks in the bathroom. He sees me walk out and he like says, "Well, you don't wash your hands?" Like very angrily towards me. And he thought I would just continue walking out and not say a word.
Wow.
So I stopped right at the door, pulled out the Purell out of my pocket, and I show it to him. I wave it to him right before he goes to the bathroom. I catch his attention. I'm like, "Sir, I carry this everywhere. I carry this everywhere, just so you know. But thanks for reminding me to wash my hands." And he had no words. He looked at me and just laughed and smiled and smirked. And I really showed that guy because it's like he just threw off my whole vibe. I got a good vibe, had a good day. And here I am in the bathroom, and this guy's, even if you think someone's not washing their hands, it's not really your place to angrily instruct them.
Yeah, that's the
You know
whole
what I
thing.
mean?
Yeah, yeah.
And this guy I wanted to say to him, because like I said, he would probably weigh at least 400 pounds. I wanted to say so many things. I was like, dude, why don't you lose some friggin' weight? I think that's probably more dangerous than me not washing my hands. But yes, I do have this Purell. I wanted to say so many different things to him. You know what I mean? Because I was fat for 4 years and I struggled with I had a big belly and it was really self-conscious and people were calling me names and stuff. And I was an athlete my whole life. So I wasn't used to it. I wasn't used to being fat shamed. So I didn't go there with this gentleman, but I certainly wanted to because I know what it took for me to lose the weight. It took willpower. It took counting my calories. It took exercising 7 days a week. It took a real stick to itiveness. And, fat people, obese people, whatever you want to call them, unless they have some debilitating physical illness where they can't walk and it's really tough for them to burn the calories, because your body, just by being awake, you're burning around 1,600 to 1,800 calories per day. It's your BRM, your basal metabolic BMR. Not to go into a whole lecture here about losing weight, but this guy had the audacity to angrily and aggressively judge me for walking out of the bathroom where he thought that I didn't wash my hands.
The only thing that gives me pause, and you're my boy. I'm going to take your side in this, and I'm glad you. Either way, I'm glad you didn't hurt the guy or whatever.
No, I would never.
I think maybe he was trying to be a funny boy. That's all.
No, this tone of voice was like really aggressive and angry, dude.
Okay, because I wasn't there. I didn't
wash your hand. It was very I trust me. I know people's tones of voices,
right? Because he could have been just like breaking your balls, like, what? You don't wash your hands like that,
It could have, but no, I'm telling you, man.
Okay. I'll take your word for it.
But it really just ruined my mood. I was like, dude, this really, I'm just trying to get my coffee at Panera and but I'm guessing, what do you think that the fact that I did this to him, the fact that I showed him the Purell and I said, "Sir, here's my Purell. Thank you for commenting. Thank you for reminding me." Do you think he's going to learn from that? And his next interaction is going to be a little bit more or less apt to make a rude, aggressive comment towards a stranger in a bathroom? What do you think he's going to do?
I hope so, but you never know. You never know who he was, what his story is. You don't know if he has any problems. He might be, he might not, he might have some certain, he might have some issues. He might, who knows? He might have some problems where he's that way, and maybe he's inappropriate in that way, and it's linked to other issues, so we don't know. I wouldn't worry. Honestly, I wouldn't worry too much about it if I were you. I think you did. I'd like to commend you for not going back at him like that. I really would.
I was very, because one thing about me, bro, I have a lot of self-control, like literally,
Yes.
I'll be able to, I think before I act, right?
Right.
a lot of situations. That's why I haven't been really in like much physical altercations in my life, because I got a lot of self-control and I know how to like, handle situations and read the situation. Whereas a lot of people are throwing fists before they're thinking, you know what I mean? So
Right.
I've always had that ability. But this was just extra annoying to me because I have such clean hands, dude. You have no idea how many times I pure on my hands, man. And for this guy to call me out in a Panera bathroom, it was just like, man, not tonight, you know?
Gotcha, bro. Gotcha.
Um, so anyway, do you eat pomegranates?
No, sir.
Because I've wanted to eat I'm trying to get back into pomegranates. I used to eat a ton of them in Brooklyn. I scoop all them out and then I put them in like a nice little Tupperware. And then, when I'm craving something sweet, I have a nice spoonful of the pomegranates. It's very tasty. But they're like impossible to find. I haven't been able to find them at any local supermarket. Apparently they're supposed to have them at BJ's, it's a Costco type warehouse place.
Mhm.
But they were out of them. So I haven't been able to find pomegranates. I was just interested to see if you found them anywhere. If you don't even eat them, so it doesn't matter to you, I guess.
No, but what I was just thinking today is what I'd like to get is some kind of a recipe for a really, really smart, tasty, healthy smoothie. I mean, not any, there's smoothies and there's smoothies. Some people
Well,
just throw a
you
bunch
like
of shit in there, and
you like beets?
I don't necessarily like beets, but
Because
I'd like to include them in a smoothie if it's a real strategic smoothie,
yeah, because
you know?
I just bought beets, and on the package of the beets it says make it recipe for a beet smoothie. So there's a lot of healthy recipes out. You can just Google like really healthy. I used to be a huge smoothie guy. I would not start my day without a big fruit smoothie. I'm talking strawberries, bananas, blueberries, Greek yogurt, whey protein, whatever. I mean, but I don't do that anymore because I just found out there's a ton of sugar, and it's better to consume your fruit naturally, to eat it and chew it,
Yeah,
crush it up.
yeah.
However, occasionally it's probably healthy, especially with some vegetables, maybe. But you might be able to mess around with like a nice little beet smoothie.
Yeah, that's why I say there's so many variations that I'd like one, and the goal would be to give me like a really good, solid, well-balanced meal with as many vitamins and minerals and as least amount of calories as possible, like a really good ratio there. But it's got to be real. There's hundreds of thousands of different kinds of smoothies. But I think I'm just going to start researching to try to get. What I'd like to do is one or two nights a week have that for dinner and nothing else. But it's got to be smart. It's got to be, it's got to have protein. It's got to have the right.
Yeah.
So
What I would tell you, because I know a lot about this stuff, dude. Like you could ask me off the air for sure.
okay.
This is gonna bore people, but I would buy a big old tub of whey protein. And then because that's what my every day for breakfast, dude, all I do is mix coffee, ice cold coffee, and whey protein. I shake it up, chocolate flavor. It's like having a nice chocolate like energy drink. And the protein, it's got 24 grams of protein that it has the skim milk in it from the coffee. And then
Why?
sometimes I put a little peanut butter powder. You could buy peanut butter powder and put that in smoothies too.
Okay.
Um, but adding whey protein to anything that you're like any liquid drink that you want is a nice quick way to get a lot of protein is really healthy for you.
Why
Um,
whey and not animal protein?
yeah, the whey, WHEY. That's the
Well,
one.
why whey protein and not?
Oh, because wait, it goes to your muscles quicker. It's better for your body. Because I also have casein protein. Casein protein is longer. It takes longer to digest. But whey protein has been proven, and it's been around forever.
Okay. Okay.
It hits your muscles immediately. It's good for your
Okay.
muscles, and you could I have to look. I haven't really looked into animal. I mean, I eat meat. I eat steak. I eat burgers. I
Hmm.
eat a lot of chicken. So I'm getting my animal protein anyway, right? So it's like the whey protein is a nice little, change of pace.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna have to get something because I wanted 2 nights a week. I want to just say, okay, I'm gonna get my dinner. Where's my blender? But I just don't want to just shoot from the hip and throw a little bit of this in and throw a little bit. No, I want to know what's going in there and why, and really well balance it so that it makes a lot of sense. So I'm getting all this stuff in the least caloric way that I can, and the highest vitamin and mineral and protein and all that stuff that I can. So it's a really, really efficient, and it could even taste moderately good. I'm not even really worried. Even if it tastes moderately good, but it does all those other things, I'm good. Because 2 nights a week, that's what I want to do. So I want to I want to drop about 10 to 12 pounds, man. You know what I mean? I want to, I got to, so that's what it is.
Absolutely. It's always nice to have goals, man. Anybody without goals, like they're directionless. Like you have to have some goals. You got to be going somewhere, right? You got to be working towards something. So I commend you for at least, the thought is good enough. Now you have the thought.
Hmm.
Now turn it into a real life action plan, and there you go. Bam, you're doing something positive for your life, dude.
That's it. That's it. You
Uh,
got it, brother.
as far as the movies, because I go to the movies all the time, as everyone knows who listens. I saw one of the most atrocious movies that I've ever seen, whether had been in theaters or I've seen it. This movie was so bad. It's called Marlowe. And I'm
Never
glad
heard
I
of
have the movie subscription, because if I paid full price for this movie, like if I just bought like a normal movie ticket without the subscription, I'd be livid that I had to sit through this and pay for this. It's with Liam Neeson. It's supposed to take place in 1939, Bay City, and it's a private detective trying to figure out. It was just a confusing story, and it was just like awful. It was so boring, dude. It was like it's almost 2 hours long, and I was just like, when is this going to end? I don't know how. Somehow on IMDb it has a 5.9 rating, but there's only been 467 ratings. But Liam Neeson's in it, Diane Kruger's in it, Jessica Lange's in it, all good actors, right? Liam Neeson. The thing about Liam Neeson, you expect him to be in these like really cool like action movies, and this was not it. There's a couple scenes where he's like kicking ass, but there was very little, and it wasn't really believable for just learning his character. Like this guy's not kicking anybody's ass, but boring movie, awful. Don't recommend it to anybody. Would probably give it a 1.7, out of 10.
Movies just aren't as good, man, as they. I hate to sound like a
No,
curmudgeon
it's not.
again.
It's not like that, because I basically see everything that's in theaters, bro. And movies still are good. I gotta tell you, there's a lot of great movies out there, but this was just an awful one. Then I saw the new Ant-Man last night, Ant-Man the Wasp and Quantumania. And it was okay. I'm not a big Marvel guy, but I like Paul Rudd. I like Michael Douglas. I like Michelle Pfeiffer. And man, Michelle Pfeiffer still looks pretty good for her age. She's in it. And
Yeah.
she anyway, she's looking pretty good for her age. But the movie itself was like pretty interesting. Like I said, I'm not a big Marvel guy, but there's another actor in it who stole the show. His name is Jonathan Majors. He plays the villain in this movie. He was in a really good movie I saw a couple months ago called Devotion, about being an African-American pilot in 1950, which is he plays an amazing part in that. In this movie, he's a villain. Then there's a new Creed movie. The Rocky movies, the Rocky spinoffs, the Creed movies.
Mm-hmm.
He's the villain. He's like the bad guy. He's Creed's opponent in the new Creed. So this guy's getting a ton. He's getting a ton of big time roles, like really big time roles. To be cast in the franchise of the Creed franchise and be cast as a villain in a Marvel franchise. He's really impressed me. He's just an awesome actor. And at first I doubted him because I'm like, oh, this guy's a little bit funny looking to be an actor. I'm like, does he have the looks? Because he certainly doesn't look like Denzel Washington, but his acting ability is phenomenal. And I think Joe, this guy's gonna be around for a while, dude. He was born in 1989. We like to do actors who have a lot of experience, but maybe one show we'll focus on Jonathan Majors. Like we'll do some we'll change our segment a little bit. We'll do some up and coming actors, and we'll do the top 5 so far, or the top 3, because there's a lot of younger actors who have a lot of potential. Because we're gonna do these renowned actors, most episodes, but he'll be a good one to focus on. So Jonathan Majors, shout out. I think he's got a bright future in Hollywood. And then something else happened recently. Tim McCarver, a really famous broadcaster, a Hall of Fame broadcaster. He played in the Major League Baseball. He was a catcher, I believe. I think he made 2 All-Star games.
Yeah.
Fairly good player, I guess, but he was a better announcer. He was known for his shrewd analysis of strategy, his literate use of metaphor, his penchant for predicting what was about to unfold in the field. He was sometimes a play-by-play announcer, but he was often a color man because he had a really great gift of gab. He died at 81. I always enjoy listening to him and Joe Buck. So rest in peace, Tim McCarver.
Yes.
He's very, the one thing that happened that people might know him for is that Deion Sanders poured a bucket of ice water on his head when Deion Sanders was on the Braves.
Yeah, and that was poor taste for Deion. Poor taste.
Because Deion's a great guy, so this is not really a reflection of his overall character, but he poured a bucket of ice water on Tim McCarver.
Yeah, it's just not a good thing.
So that was like one thing that McCarver's kind of remembered for the casual fan.
Mhm.
But he was a great announcer. I know Joe, what do you think about? What did you think about him? He was okay.
He was a Philly for a while. And he was instrumental to Steve Carlton was one of the all-time greatest pitchers in baseball history. He was a Phillies pitcher. And Steve Carlton, I think at one point McCarver was his personal catcher. You know how they get comfortable with certain catchers. So he was a Philly for a while. Then he was a Met. And I kind of always remembered him for the latter because he seemed like he was there longer. I think he was with the St. Louis Cardinals there for a while too. He was a journeyman player, pretty good player, announcer. He was okay. He was just okay. And I do remember that incident with Deion Sanders. What he said about Deion Sanders, he said that this is when Deion was playing football and baseball. He made the comment that maybe Deion was being a little selfish playing both. And it was just his opinion. Well, instead of Deion saying something back in the media, the Braves won the World Series that year. I think it was just the pennant. It was the Braves clinched the pennant that year. And instead of saying something back and retaliate verbally, Deion, being the young cat that he was, I don't think he would do it today, but he got a big old water bucket and he went around looking. I mean, he was looking, the camera was on him and he was going in and out of the clubhouse and he's like, where McCarver? Where McCarver? Where you at? Where McCarver? And he finally finds him and he throws this bucket of water on this guy. Now, Deion at the time is about 24 years old. McCarver's about 54 years old and really looked like he was about 64 at the time. He's just much older guy. And he had a shirt and tie and a blazer on. And he throws a bucket of water on him because he didn't like what he said. And I mean, and then McCarver, what's he going to do? He knew he couldn't really handle him physically. He just looked at him and goes, yeah, you're a real man, Deion. You're a real man, sarcastically. But it was really an uncomfortable moment. I think even for being 24, come back verbally at the guy if you want, but don't go looking for him and throwing a bucket of water on him like that. I think somebody should have whooped Deion's ass. Someone younger should have just done that on behalf of McCarver, but I digress. Tim McCarver, good guy, good player, good announcer, good guy all around. R.I.P. my brother.
Yeah, we had another death. You could probably speak to this better than I can, but Raquel Welch also passed away. She was
Yeah.
She was an icon in the 60s and 70s, and she was pretty attractive. So, Joe, I'll let the floor is yours.
Well, yeah, and even for me, it was a little bit before my time, but a lot of her movies were still on like reruns and stuff on TV. And I hope my older brothers, I heard the name Raquel Welch before I even knew why my brothers were mentioning her name. Like I'm 7 years old. I'm like, oh, Raquel, wow, I don't know. Well, by the time I hit 11 or 12, I could see why. I'm like, oh, what? Hey, that lady's pretty. Kind of, when you're 11 or 12 years old, you start to notice that. But really, a remarkably beautiful woman. As important as looks are, is only so important, but incredibly sexy, provocative, gorgeous woman, and a great actor. Well, a very good actress and a big name. I mean, her name went on and she even did a Seinfeld or two. This is long after, when she was a little older, she did a Seinfeld episode that I can remember. And she's always, at one point, she was voted the most sexiest woman in the world at one point. But time catches us all, and time caught her just like everybody else. And she got older and now she's gone, and R.I.P. baby girl. That's all I can say.
Yep. Rest in peace for Tim McCarver and Raquel Welch.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So actress of the week, Joe, this is your pick. You picked Sally Field.
Yep.
She was born November 6th, 1946. She's still with us. Just saw her in a movie, 80 for Brady. And she did a good job in that movie. For an older woman, she still can act pretty good and, she's believable and stuff. And, but she was born in Pasadena, California. Her mom was an actress and her father was a salesman, an officer in the U.S. Army. Then her mom got divorced, married a stuntman, and the stuntman sexually abused Sally Field as a child when it was her stepfather. So that was pretty traumatic. She wrote about that in her 2018 memoir, her book, I believe. Yeah. She didn't start acting until 1965, so she was about 19. After high school, she enrolled in a summer acting workshop at Columbia Studios. She said as a kid, the first movie she ever saw was Disney's Cinderella, the cartoon version.
Yeah.
Then she began her acting career in TV in a show called Gidget. She was pretty renowned as an actress. At first what happened was everyone thought that she could only do TV. So it was tough for her to get like roles in like movies.
Right.
So she really had to break through. And she certainly did. She was in a movie called Norma Ray in 1979. She won Best Actress. And she won another Best Actress award in 1985 for Places in the Heart, which I know, Joe, you're going to talk about.
Yeah.
She also won Outstanding Lead Actress in a Drama Series, even in 2007, when she was like an older woman, for a show called Brothers and Sisters. And I believe she won that same award, Outstanding Lead Actress in a Drama Series, in 1977 for a show called The Big Event. She's a social activist. She won an Academy Achievement Award for, her lifetime achievements, including her social activism. She supports cancer and equal rights. She actually did Smokey and the Bandit as a leap of faith because there was basically no script. And she wanted to change her image from being seen as ugly because her role as she had a role in a movie called Sybil.
I was waiting for that. That was big,
ugly.
Sean.
She was seen as ugly, so she wanted to change that whole thing. But she was hesitant to work in Smokey and the Bandit with Burt Reynolds. But she did. She took a leap of faith, and it was basically no scripts. It was all ad-libbing. I don't know if you knew that about that movie, but
I did not know it. No.
She said after she won the Oscar for Norma Ray, it was like a blur. And she said next time she needs to take the time to feel the moment because it's a hard industry. She said her first Oscar, she couldn't really feel it. It was too surreal. So it's a hard industry. And when she won again in 85, she really took the time to appreciate it. She's like, man, this is amazing. But yeah, like I said, after her TV career ended, she tried to transition to films. It was tough for her to get even on the audition lists. And she had some pretty good insights in some interviews I saw. She said, if you start blaming other people, then you're giving up your power. You must always be the one with power. So don't blame other people. She just seems like a really down to earth, really like nice lady. Like she doesn't seem like an actress, right? She comes off as just like someone's mom. And she says all the films that she's done are like her children. They're very important to her. So when someone asks her a favorite film that she's done or favorite TV show, she doesn't really like to give an answer because it's like choosing your favorite kid. So she takes a lot of pride in her work. Joe, I'll let you talk about the top five and a little bit about her.
Yeah, I can remember as a little guy watching reruns of a show called The Flying Nun. Believe it or not. Now you're going back to when I'm a little kid and I'm watching reruns in the early to mid 70s. These shows were filmed, if they're reruns, they were about 10 years prior. And sitcoms and so forth in the mid 60s the mid to late 60s weren't all that great. But there was a show called The Flying Nun in which she was a nun, obviously, and she had the power to, when she wanted to do a good deed or something like that, when her services were required, she could pull out her habit like that and spread her arms out and she could fly. And it was kind of a cool thing, especially as a little guy watching that. That's as far back as I remember her. I remember the Sybil thing I'll talk about in a minute. That was unbelievable. That was almost historic. But I always saw the cuteness, especially when she did The Flying Nun, she's cuteness. And then when that Smokey and the Bandit came out, it was like, whoa. There's cuteness here, but there's also a whole lot of what an attractive, just all the way around, just attractively built, attractive face, just a very, so I said to myself, this is a long way from The Flying Nun. So a very nice combination of cuteness and sexiness, and a great, and a great person and a good actress. Now, I'll just get to my top five. I like to go from five down to one. All right. So five was Smokey and the Bandit. There were a couple of three or four of those, I think. Number four was Forrest Gump. She played Forrest Gump's mother, as we all know. I thought she played that role really well. If I'm not mistaken, she's from that part of the country originally too. Not that matters at all. I mean, she's
from California. I think I said
she's from
it.
California. Okay.
I said she was Pasadena, California. She was born in.
Okay, I thought for some reason she was like from the South, but maybe she lived there for a while, or but she was born in California. That's fine too. But she 5 was Smokey the Bandit, 4 is Forrest Gump. We all remember the mother. 3 was Sybil, and Sybil was a TV movie. It was one of those 2 night type things because it was damn near 4 hours total, and she played the role of someone with personality, multi-personality disorder. It's also dissociative identity disorder, DID, better known though as multiple personality disorder. And she played a young lady who had been sexually abused and physically abused by her mother, and developed this disorder. And she played these characters. It was so impressive that she won all kinds of stuff for that. It was a TV movie, but it was historic. It was legendary. And you want to talk about range and diversity? Sit there and play 4 or 5 different characters all in the same scene, because that's what she did. It was really, really something. Number 2, because I'm a history. I was going to say a history buff, but I'm not a buff. I'm a history enthusiast. After I learn some more and become, better at it, I'll call myself a buff, but I like history. Number 2, she played in a movie called Lincoln. And Lincoln was played by what's the guy's name? This was only about maybe. Yes, Daniel Day-Lewis played Abraham Lincoln, and Sally Field played Mary Todd Lincoln. And now, Mary Todd Lincoln was not a looker, and Sally Field at that point, she made herself a little less, a little less attractive and so forth to fit the role. And I don't know whether they had like a padded suit on her or whatever, but she played the role really well. And just to think about the real, this is the real Mary Todd Lincoln. I mean, just think about it. They had 4 boys, and 3 of them died. So they went through a lot of depression, and they went through a lot of, you want to talk about depression, have 4 boys and have 3 of them die. And then what happens with her husband? The poor woman but she played that role of Mary Todd Lincoln in the movie Lincoln. That's my number 2. My number 1 was a movie she did in 1984, 85-ish. Ed Harris was in this movie too, as a matter of fact. He was played a vital role in the movie, but Places in the Heart. And I'm going to tell you, it's really, I like movies about history. And this goes back to the Depression. She plays a woman who's married to a chief of police in a small Texas town in 1935, Texas, right? Waxahachie or something like that, Texas, I think the town was. And I'm not going to tell the whole story, but her husband gets called out one day and there's some trouble going on, and he catches an accidental bullet and it kills him. And now she's left alone in the middle of a depression with no means, couple of kids. And man, does she play this role well. And the movie is great on several accounts.
What's it called?
It's called Places in the Heart.
Oh, yeah. That's the one she won Best Actress for, dude.
Yeah, just unbelievable. And it teaches you, the movie, it doesn't teach, but it reinforces concepts like hard work and perseverance and faith and all those things. The movie does. It's a great movie. Danny Glover is in it. John Malkovich is in it. It's one of my favorite actors. I'm going to, cover him someday. Ed Harris is in it. Ed Harris is in everything. Sally just plays an amazing role in this movie. And she's one of my fence posts, if you know what I mean. I'll do a great actor or actress, and then I'll go to some B-level stuff, and then I'll come back to. So in a couple of 3-4 weeks, I'll have another, big time actor or actress. But we're allowed to do these once in a while, and it was just a treat to remember her and and cover a lot of stuff. And I don't know why all of a sudden I thought of it. I think it was just because maybe you mentioned that you went to this the Brady movie or whatever the hell it was, and I thought to myself, holy God, she's in that. She's one of those older women that are in that movie. And I thought to myself, wow, that's Sally Field. And I remember Sally Field, and again, time catches us all. But it's just one of those things that what a treat she was for me, and what a treat she was to the big screen. And it was just a privilege to cover her. That's it.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, so I don't really have a top 5 for her. I just have the movies that I've seen her in. Did you see Smoking the Bandits, Joe?
You know, I saw at least the first one.
Okay.
So I can't. I don't
really remember that one that much. I thought maybe you would, because it's forever in your time period.
I can't remember. I mean, they were being chased through. They were in a black Trans Am, and they were being traced. They were being chased by that sheriff and his son. And his son was a little bit of like a Barney Fife type character. Yeah. And it was just funny. It was
apparently her and Burt Reynolds had some pretty good chemistry on screen. Like, they were in some other stuff together besides the sequels. I'm pretty sure Burt Reynolds and her had an on-screen thing going on.
I think they had an off-screen thing too for a couple of years, as a matter of fact. But okay. Yeah.
So I remember her from Mrs. Doubtfire from 1993 with Robin Williams. Rest in peace, Robin Williams. We'll do him one show. Forrest Gump in 1994. A movie that I really enjoyed. I saw this movie probably a couple of years ago, called Eye for an Eye from 1996. Her daughter gets raped and murdered, and she turns into a vigilante and takes justice into her own hands. I love movies like that. That's why I like Liam Neeson movies. I love when there's like a revenge. Like, Charles
Bronson was the master at that.
Oh yeah, I went through a phase like last year, 2 years ago, where I watched all the Bronson films, dude.
Yeah.
So I love. She was pretty good in that. Eye for an Eye. Like, she plays like this. She turns into a vigilante. She's like this, older mother, and she takes justice in her own hands. So that was cool.
Did you see Places in the Heart?
Dude, I don't remember. Like, if
Would you do me a favor at some point and watch it, please?
Yeah, I'm going to.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's it's one of those movies. Obviously, it's from a while ago. I think it's from 1985, and before I was born. And I've seen a ton of movies way before I was born. But this movie, if it means a lot to you and it has a good meaning and good messages.
There's several things in there, Sean, and there's several things. It's just really well done, and especially pay attention to the last 2-3 minutes of the movie in the church. Pay attention, close attention. It's going to blow your mind. But the whole movie is just so well done. It takes place deep in the heart of Texas and deep in the Depression. It's just really there's race relations. There's just so much. There's work ethic. There's spirituality. It's a fantastic. And then there's Sally. She downplays her because she wants her to make herself look kind of worn down, like anyone would in her situation, but she's still cute as hell. So, but just check that out when you get a chance. I'm just as a favor. I don't want you to miss it. I know you love movies, and for you to miss that, this movie's just fantastic. And anybody out there, Places in the Heart, tremendous movie.
Yep. She was also in The Amazing Spider-Man. I believe she plays Peter Parker's aunt or something like that. Maniac with Jonah Hill from 2018. Winning Time: The Rise of the Lakers Dynasty. That's from HBO TV series. Pretty good.
Was Ed Harris in that one?
Ed Harris? I don't think he was in that one, dude.
Okay, all right.
She was in Spoiler Alert, that movie I just saw in the movies, 2022. She was in 80 for Brady. I just saw that. She was also in Lincoln. Dude, it's another one, dude. So Lincoln, I haven't seen Lincoln either, Joe. I don't know how Lincoln's escaped me. I've had several opportunities to watch it, but I never I always find something else to watch. I don't really want to. I know about Abraham Lincoln. I'm always like, I don't really care about watching his life right now. I know his history, but I'm definitely gonna watch Lincoln and Places in the Heart for sure, Joe.
Thank you.
So that's Actress of the Week, Sally Field, great actress, legendary actress. Shout out to her. So Snapple Fact this week. Snapple Fact 419. A jiffy is an actual time measurement equaling 1/100th of a second.
Right. That's 1/100, right? 1/100th with a TH, 1/100th. In other words, there are 100 jiffies, 100 little jiffies in 1 second. So a lot of times people say, oh, okay, I'll be back in a jiffy. I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? Peanut butter over here? What are you with the jiffy? Where'd they ever get that from? But jiffy is an actual it's an actual measurable, bona fide unit of time. So I never knew that, and I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I think for physicists, a jiffy is how long light takes to travel a distance of 1 femtometer, which is a millionth of a millimeter. So there are 300,000 billion jiffies in a second. That's one interpretation of a jiffy.
No, there's 100 jiffies in a second. Not to argue with you, but
I know. I'm just looking.
yeah, that can get really hairy and complex if you start talking about the speed of light and everything else. Suffice it to say, Sean, that there's 100 jiffies in 1 second. So a jiffy is 1/100th of a second, which I think the key here is when you hear "I'll be back in a jiffy," you always thought of it as like a slang term, when it's actually a literal, it's a unit of time. Now, that person's not going to be back in a jiffy, because by the time they finish their sentence, it's long over. But that it's nice to know sometimes where little sayings come from. So I'll be back in a jiffy doesn't mean literally, but it means I'll be back pretty quickly. That's all. You with me?
Yeah. Yep. So I'm reading a little bit more about jiffies here, because there's a lot of different interpretations. There's a guy named Gilbert Newton Lewis who proposed a unit of time called the jiffy. And that's the time it takes a light to travel 1 centimeter, 33 picoseconds. I don't know. There's a lot of different meanings for it, but I know,
Right.
People always use it. I'll be here in a jiffy. I'll be done in the jiffy. So it's, it's a really short amount of time, just to kind of summarize it. But
Yes, sir.
Interesting Snapple fact, though, for sure, Joe.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
So let's move on to On the Real. You ready to stump me?
Well, I'll try, man. I mean, you're a tough cookie. Let me get a little sip of water here if I'm going to be doing all this reading. All right. Very good. All right. No time like the present to start. Here we go. Story number 1. Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Fire chief charged with at least 3 counts of arson. Fire chief charged with at least 3 counts of arson. Okay. 39-year-old Randy Calhoun, fire chief in Livingston Parish, was arrested and charged with 3 counts of arson last week. Family and friends became suspicious after Randy always seemed to leave the house about an hour and a half before the town fire whistle would go off. They quietly expressed their concerns to the local sheriff, who in turn had Calhoun followed for 2 weeks. On day 11, he was caught in an attempt to burn down an unspecified place of worship. They don't want to say what it was or this or that, but he was, he faces 30 years in prison and is suspected to have at least 2 other connections to recent fires, hence the 3 counts of arson. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Cambridge, Massachusetts. Scientists at MIT working on freeze-free roads. Freeze-free roads. Okay. Scientists at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology are working on a possible solution to winter driving hazards. They have a few prototypes for a conductive concrete, which will be impossible to freeze or even accumulate snow. The new concrete will be made with an electrically conductive material. They're not running wires through concrete, but they're making the concrete with material that will facilitate electronic current. Okay, so I'm going to start the sentence again. The new concrete will be made with electrically conductive material, which will be safe and pose no risk of electrocution to any person because of the low current, but enough current to maintain a temperature above freezing. If all goes well, they will begin testing this new concrete on walkways and parking lots in the winter of 2024, and hopefully on actual roadways by 2026. Hot diggity damn. All right. So the third one, you cool so far with that?
Yep.
The third one, Florida boy dies from infection after twisting an ankle on a treadmill. Jesse Brown was an outgoing 11-year-old Florida boy that died just a few weeks after twisting his ankle on a treadmill. His parents say he probably contracted what his doctors called Group A strep infection while riding his motocross bike, which he did very often. It is believed he acquired a scratch because he was acquired several scratches. It was always coming back scratched up from riding motocross, right? So it was believed he acquired this infection through one of those scratches, which opened the door for the infection to enter his body. A few days after the ankle injury, so he went out and he was riding his motorbike and he got scratches. Okay, then later on that week, okay, a few days after the ankle injury, he developed bruises, which alarmed his family. His whole leg was bruised, badly bruised. So what happens? He went out, he was riding his motocross bike, he got scratched up like he normally does, thought nothing of it. About a week later, he's running on a treadmill and he twists his ankle. Okay, so after he twists his ankle, that's when he woke up. A couple of days after that, his whole leg was bruised up badly and he was running a fever. Okay, shortly thereafter, he was admitted to the hospital where the aforementioned doctors diagnosed him but could not save him before the flesh-eating bacteria caused his brain to swell, ultimately killing him. Medical personnel believe the bacteria attacked the rolled ankle because it was already weak.
Okay. So pretty complex stories.
I'm a complex dude.
Can you summarize the first one again? It was the fire guy, and he,
Okay, sure.
Ours got charged with 3 counts of arson, you said?
Yeah, well, basically, it's a fire chief, and he's being charged with at least 3 counts of arson. Okay.
Okay. Fire chief, 3 counts of arson. The second one was the freeze-free road. Third one was the guy's scratch. And what happened with the scratch? The scratch turned into something. It turned into bruises. Then what happened?
What happened was this kid twisted his ankle on a treadmill, which is not a big, not uncommon. But a couple of days after twisting his ankle on a treadmill, he had bruises all around it. He was running a fever and had bruises all the way up the leg, which is a little bit like, and they figure, what's going on here? When they took him to the hospital, and the doctors say he had this, what did they call it again? A group A strep infection. And they're trying to figure out how he acquired the strep infection. And since he had a lot of scratches on him, the doctors asked about the scratches, and it was, well, because he's always doing the motocross. So, okay, the virus of the infection probably entered through one of the scratches. But the reason why it was expedited and the reason why it showed up so quickly, that twisted ankle, that turned ankle. Okay. So this virus that was in his body and maybe would have been a little more quiet a little longer, because of the ankle being turned and being weakened tremendously, it was like showing the bull red. It went after that. Yeah. It went after that, and it just went into overdrive. And before the doctors could fix him, it made his brain swell and took him.
Oh, he died.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm on the treadmill 7 days a week, so I hope I don't turn my ankle, dude. Let's see. Okay, interesting. Okay, so that happens to people. They die from like these infections, so that's reasonable. The ice-free road is also reasonable. The fire chief getting charged with arson. Don't say the whole thing, but why exactly was he charged with arson again?
Let me just read it to you again. Okay.
No, dude, it's a long thing. We don't have a lot of time here. Just like quickly.
His family. Okay. His family became concerned that there was something going on, that he would leave the house, and about an hour to an hour and a half later, the town fire whistle would go off. When this happened 3 or 4 times in a row, they became a little concerned. And they just whispered to the chief of police, hey, the sheriff, he's our family member, but I don't know, this doesn't seem right. That's all.
Okay. Let me think.
Okay, you have 5 seconds and begin. I'm just kidding.
I think the fire chief one is fake. I don't know. I don't think I'm right, but I'm just going to guess that.
I just need to know which one you think is real, man. This isn't like process of elimination. I have to know. Okay. Yeah, you have to just zero in on which one you think is real. I can't help you as you go.
Yeah, 2 fake and 1 real. Let me just think about this for a second. Fire chief one's fake, I think. I think the real one. Oh, it's only yeah. I was doing the opposite. Now you got me doing the opposite. I'm thinking, okay. I think the real one is the ice-free roads.
You are incorrect, sir. Sorry.
Which one's real?
The real one was that kid in Florida.
Okay, because that one was plausible too, but so was
God
like
bless
they're
his
all like
soul.
real.
Yeah.
They're all like realistic stories. You know what I mean?
Well, that's my job, is to
So the
try
fire.
to.
I was okay. So I was down. I thought the fire one was fake. I was down to the kid with the ankle turn and
If I come out and say, if some guy got his leg chopped off and he super glued it back on, you
yeah.
mean you're gonna know it's
Well,
bullshit.
that's what I'm
I mean,
saying. I think we
yeah,
got to do more stuff like that. I think we have to be more far fetched. Like a lot of these stories are like they make you think, but it's like all of them are very plausible, right?
yeah.
Um,
Or maybe we'll try just the headline, and just for fun, you guess which headline you buy.
okay.
Because we're not playing for $1 million here. We're playing for fun.
Yeah.
So it'll be like, guess the headline. And it'll be hard without information, but you just guess which headline and it'll make for some good laughs too, And it'll make for less, you know,
Yeah.
it'll be less time consuming too.
Yep. All right. So let's move on to Bryan Kohberger and Alex Murdaugh update really quick. Apparently, Bryan Kohberger's lawyer is going to make $200 per hour, and it's going to cost the taxpayers a lot of money. So this guy who murdered innocent students is getting a lawyer that's going to be commanding $200 per hour. And it's going to be a long case, a lot of preparation. So that's that's on our dime. That's on our dime. He's not getting a private defender. He's getting a public defender, I believe. So that's taxpayers' money to defend basically a murderer. Anyway, so there's a big change in the case with the 911 call. It was thought that the 911 call was made by a survivor of the attack. They said it was this person named Dylan Mortensen, but apparently it was the person who called 911 was the best friend of one of the University of Idaho students. He called 911 and he was the one who made the call. And they thought it was someone else, but they just figured out that another person called 911. It wasn't one of the survivors. I think one of their roommates. It was someone else. It was someone's like best friend. And apparently the person who they thought called 911 saw Kohberger that night and described him as a 5'10" or taller male, not very muscular, but athletically built with bushy eyebrows. And then he walked past her and the girl stood in frozen shock. And then the person, the girl who saw him locked herself in her room and she was like in shock. But she didn't call 911. Someone else did. The best friend of one of the students did. So that's a interesting detail that could be important, I guess, in the future. As far as Alex Murdaugh goes, I said last episode he might take the stand and testify, defend himself, I guess. But there's a thing going on when they tracked his car's movements on June 7th, 2021. They said around the time that his son and wife was killed, he drove 42 miles per hour as he neared the location of Maggie's iPhone, his wife's iPhone. Then he sped up to 45 miles per hour. And they're trying to imply that Murdaugh may have disposed of the murder weapons on the way to visit his mom. He spent 20 minutes visiting his mom, but he claimed to have been there for 50 minutes. So that's a big discrepancy. And he returned home by driving over 80 miles per hour, faster than any trip he took that day. So, he went to visit his mom or dispose of weapons or something like that, possibly. And then he drove 80 miles per hour on the way back. And he lied about how long he was at his mom's. So that's kind of the interesting details that, we're learning. So that's the Kohberger and Murdaugh update. I don't know if you have any comments about it, anything to say about those guys, you can.
No, I think I've said, I think I've said for at least for a while, everyone knows how I feel about that. So,
yeah. So our current event of the week is about abortion. It's from the New York Times. It's called "A New Goal for Abortion Bills: Punish or Protect Doctors." So now that Roe versus Wade has been overturned, there's around 300 bills in 40 states that have been proposed. The majority are seeking to restrict access to abortion. Others are trying to strengthen it. Because now it's all in charge. The states are all in charge now. And doctors are the target. They're trying to put these doctors in jail. They're trying to make it. They're trying to charge doctors with a felony for administering abortion for people, for girls who go there and couples who go there to get an abortion. Both sides apparently agree on one thing: that doctors are the critical link. They're the most vulnerable to punishment. A lot of these bills are treated that way. Just for an example, a bill in Wyoming, doctors and nurses who perform abortions or prescribe medication for abortions, they could face 5 years in prison. In Nebraska, abortion's currently legal until 22 weeks after a woman's last menstrual period. They're trying to have a bill to make it illegal after around 6 weeks. So any doctor who performs the abortion after that 22 weeks, or after the 6 weeks, 6 weeks, and they perform the abortion even after they detect cardiac activity on an ultrasound, it would I think it would strip doctors of their license. So there's pretty harsh penalties. Yeah, it's basically doctors are going to be the ones at the forefront here with abortions. So a lot of times states that banned abortion pills have become a crucial workaround. Bans usually prohibit any method, including medication, but the pills are tougher to regulate. Even before Roe was overturned, medication was already used in more than half of all abortions in the United States. So they're going to try to figure out what they can do to kind of enforce having the pills being illegal and also punishing the doctors. But the example, there's a bill in Iowa. Abortion's currently legal until 22 weeks after the woman's last menstrual period. And the new bill would make it a felony for doctors to distribute abortion pills, punishable by up to 10 years in jail, but will not penalize women who take or obtain the pills, just the doctors. So there's a lot going on. And, the doctors at the forefront here. So I don't know how you feel about this, Joe. How do you feel about the doctors being the ones that are the criminals in the cases? Because someone comes to them for an abortion, they're just carrying out their wishes, the person's wishes. They're not making any judgments. They're just being a doctor. But now they're basically turning the felons and lose their license. How do you feel about that?
Oh, man, I'll tell you, Sean, of all the issues, this is one that's really, really, really difficult for me. I can see both sides of it. I mean, I could see I really can see women wanting the right to govern their own bodies and so forth and so on. But at the same time, little infant, little babies, it's tough, Sean. It's so tough. And I find myself sitting out in arguments about this because this is one of those issues that people will argue from here to hell's green acre. In this scenario, this is just a legal question you're asking me. So nobody overturned Roe v. Wade. Okay. Roe v. Wade is, in a way they did, yes, but all they did was they didn't make abortion illegal. They just, like you said, they just turned it over to the states. Yeah. They said it's no longer a national issue. We're going to turn it over to states to make their own decisions. Now, for those states in which abortion is still legal, and even if it's legal, I do absolutely agree with time limits. I mean, now the 6 weeks is a little ridiculous because I don't think women even realize they're pregnant a lot of times till like 8 weeks. Till they even realize they're pregnant. So you're asking someone to do something 2 weeks before they even realize, but at the same time, I don't like, too long either. So I think if you're going to do this damn thing, the faster you do it, the better. It's one of these things where it's like, let me get back to the point. For doctors who are doing it in states where it's legal, they're fine. If you're doing it in a state where it's illegal, don't do it. Send people, and a lot of states are doing this. They'll say, okay, we're just going to send you here and you go over here. It's a 3-hour ride, but if that's the way we have to do it.
Yeah, but then there's another thing that's going on. In Idaho, there's a bill that would make transporting of minors seeking abortions a human trafficking crime. That the burden's on the doctors to prove in court that they didn't break the law. It's part of the Life is a Human Right Act, where performing an abortion or administering abortion medication would be considered a felony. Implicated would lose their license. So There's interesting things of, if the doctor finds out that they travel across states, the doctor could still be possibly liable for knowing that information. So that's, the detail that's interesting.
What's really sad here is that all the and they so the proponents of this think that this is a big victory for them. Oh, they've not done nothing. As a matter of fact, what they've done is, if they're making this more difficult, more arduous for women to do this, what's going to happen is we're going to go back in time to the point where women go to back to basements and to secret places, and when they're done with rudimentary tools, but they're going to be performed, these things. They're going to be performed. That's going to happen. So there's no big victory. If anything, you turn back the clock and you made it really arduous for people, the girls, the young women, to get this done, but now you've endangered them too. I think, Sean, I've always said this, and I've said this to females in my own family. I said, look, I don't care whether you like this answer or not, but I'm going to say legally, I think, okay, under certain circumstances and within certain parameters and time limits, if this is the way it's been, I'm cool with it, but I'll get down on my knees and beg you not to do it. That's it.
Yeah, because as an example, in Montana, abortions are legal up to viability, usually around 23 weeks. The House approved a bill last week requiring doctors to agree in writing to participate in abortion procedures. The Medical Conscience Bill, it's called. It also provides medical institutions and healthcare providers the right to decline abortions based on ethical or religious beliefs. So,
it's a tough issue, Shawnee. It's a tough issue, man.
I don't know. I mean, I think, 23 weeks is a long time. That's like,
Yeah, I agree.
That's like 6 months, right?
I agree.
I think
Like 11 or 12 would be, yeah.
I think the heartbeat and around, because I think you said they can't detect the heartbeat until around 6 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, I from what I understand, a lot of times women won't even know they're pregnant until like 8 weeks. I mean, they'll suspect, but they're not, like you said, so much times, a time period from their last menstruation, right? So that last menstruation is when the time starts clicking. Well, they don't even have their radar up for another 4 weeks, right? Like 5 weeks, like, oh, okay, it's 5 weeks. I'm about a week late. And then they start thinking, so you can't give them 6 weeks. I mean, that's not even, that could be within the parameters of normal lateness a lot of times. So you got to go, I mean, I would say between 8 and 11 weeks or something, which is fair. But like I said, I could see women saying and feeling like it's their legal right to do that. I understand that. And I'll acquiesce to that, but I will say, please ascertain what you're doing early. And I'll beg you not to do it, though. That's how I feel about it. It's a tough issue.
Yeah, I mean, because like obviously, if there's rape or incest involved, there should be no questions asked. If there's rape or incest involved, you should allow abortion. That's and people could say, other religious fanatics and lunatics will say, God's plan. God's plan was to have that guy rape you and to create a baby, and the baby's going to grow up. It's like, really? God's plan was to have someone forcefully sexually assault you and create a child, and you're forced to raise that child? I don't think so.
Right. And then you get into the phenomena of miscarriages. Well, if God was absolutely positively against
they're trying to say
the fetus dying in the womb, then why does he or she, whatever God is, why does he or she allow miscarriages?
You could open up a whole can of worms.
Right, which we're not going to do right
because
here.
Miscarriages are a natural occurrence, whereas abortion is a man-made thing that
if it's a natural occurrence, it's God's will.
But man's choosing. People have the power to kill a child, a potential child. Like, so with abortion, I'm pretty I'm not a crazy conservative, like right-wing leaning person who thinks like abortion's bad in every situation. Like I said, you need it in incest and rape cases, but also, there's a lot of young people who get pregnant and they don't have the means to raise a kid. And what happens is if they do raise the kid, they have to put their life on hold and they can't pursue a career, and they struggle financially to make money their whole lives unless they find a significant other who has financial means and can support the child and whatnot. Mm-hmm. So it's a very difficult life. a lot of children grow up in poverty. Um, there's overpopulation. There's so many children that need to be adopted that it takes the adoption process is so long and so complex. Um, so, if you could tell the girl who's, deciding to have an abortion, if you can tell her, okay, your child can be raised by a very nice couple, and they have them all vetted and they have them researched, and the girl's, knows that the child is going to be alive. But it's tough for a girl to know that her baby is being raised by other people. Maybe it's more peace of mind for her to know that her baby has never existed in the real world, and it was eliminated before coming into this world, than knowing that she has a child out there, which might find out one day that, she gave up her child, and the person, because there's all these stories about these people who are adopted and they go to find their real parents one day.
Yeah.
So it's a very complicated issue, and it's more to it. It's not simple as saying, I'm Catholic, I'm against murder, therefore I'm against abortion. It's not that simple. It's very
No, it's not.
complicated.
It's extremely complicated, and we have to do a show. I'm Catholic, you're Catholic, and I like I said, I love Christ and all that, but I'm not down with every little rule of the Catholic religion. And I think sometimes you and I will have to maybe do a show on Catholicism, and I mean this. We're not here to trash anything. We'll talk about the good parts, and we'll talk about the parts that we're not so crazy about, and we'll talk about how it's eroding. Every time I turn around, there's a new parish that's closing and combining with another one, because it's becoming smaller and smaller. So I would not let the rules of the Catholic faith tell me what to do, and I don't do it that way. I do follow my heart and what I think Christ would want me to do, but I circumvent the Catholic Church. I'm Catholic, but I circumvent it. I go to church. I go to, I go to mass once a month or so, because I like to go, not because I feel like I have to. And I'm proud to be Catholic. I love the Catholic Church, but I'm not going to let some bullshit rules that were made by men, just like the two of us throughout the centuries, that were made by men. Okay, I follow my heart and try to figure out what I think Christ would want, and I roll that way. But I don't roll, and I don't think Christ ever talked about abortion.
And what do you
or
think
any-
about I don't want to get too deep into it. We'll talk about this subject maybe another show, but this whole article is about punishing doctors. Do you think doctors deserve to be classified as felons for,
Of course not. Of course
administering
not.
abortions? Because it's a two-way street, right? The couple, the girl, whoever's going to for the abortion really wants the abortion, and the doctor is just, doing their job basically. But now it's going to be very tough on, a lot of people to get this abortion done, and the doctor could potentially lose their license and livelihood and go to jail.
Right. And like I said,
Convicted felon. So I think it's very harsh.
and it's very harsh. I know it's showing the whole idea, the whole notion is that the people who are tremendously overzealous about doing this, and they really think, and I feel bad for them, because they really think like they're doing something good. They really think like this is going to make a difference, and all it is going to displace people who are going to get these abortions. Instead of going to the clinic that you're closing down, they're going to find somewhere else to go, like in the old days, and it'll be done in a very rudimentary way, and like coat hangers and wherever it has to be done, but they're going to be done. But now you're going to create more misery than already existed, and while you're waving your victory flag that doesn't exist. It's just a shame.
Yeah.
It's just a shame.
It's a divisive topic. And sometimes
Yep.
people are conservatives just because they're against abortion. I'm like, why are you conservative? What's your views? Is it fiscal? Was it social issues? Are you
Right.
against marriage? Or what are you against
Right.
that the left is doing? And a lot of times they're like, well, I don't like killing babies. And that's a big reason. So I'm with these guys.
Well, I don't like it either. And like I said, that's why I said I'll get down on my knees and say, woman, I don't know you, but please don't do this. Please consider putting your baby up for adoption. Please don't do this. And I will say it, Sean, I'll get down on my, but it doesn't mean I got to join, the Republican Party or anything like that. I told you before, I don't walk. I kind of flow in and out. Yes, anyone who knows me, I lean a little bit more left than I do right, but I'm not totally against the values of the right. And it's nothing to do with religion so much as my gut feeling about a little infant in there, and you deciding to end it after a certain point, and we have to talk about something else too. We have to talk about proper education when it comes to birth control. It's a
Yeah,
personal
that's a big
responsibility.
thing because a
Yeah.
lot of people think they could be loose sexually. It's not always the girl. Everybody's like, "Oh, why is the girl so loose?" Well, it's the guy's decision too. He's participating. It's a
Yeah.
two-party, and like they might think, "Oh, we could use no condom. We could be very loose. We could be because we'll just get an abortion." I hate that attitude. I don't want the
Yes.
fact that abortion's available to make people
Thank
more
you.
like less responsible when they're having sex. Like, they have to be very careful and they have to be educated on, because abortion should be the last resort, dude.
Thank you. They shouldn't be as cavalier as they are about abortion, right?
Yeah.
And
And
so
also, by
yeah.
the way, I got news for you. If you have an abortion, it could potentially damage you forever, and you might not be able to have kids in the future. So, there's a lot of other things that can happen by having an abortion. It can affect your ability to have kids when you actually want to in the future.
Right. And listen, women don't, if any women listen to that, I understand and fully agree and support the notion that you should have the right to govern your own biology. But even at that, there should be some parameters, some time limits. And although I agree and I understand your right, your legal right to do this under certain parameters, I will still plead with you not to, if that makes any sense. That's all I got.
Yeah, it's a touchy subject, and
Yep.
listen, um, I'm not totally against. Like I said, where I'm coming from, especially in rape and incest cases.
Yeah, that's a whole different ball game.
And
That's yeah.
then, also I feel bad for the parents and the kid their kid gets pregnant. The parents just raise their kid, and then they're expected to, because the kid usually say the girl's like in her teens, right? Say she's like 20 years old, say she doesn't have a lot of money, and now the parents are expected to raise another kid for their kid until she could get on her feet and do it on her own. So it's putting a lot of pressure on these grandparents too.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's a lot to think about. It's a big decision, and bringing the child, like you say, aborting a child's a big thing, but also bringing another human, every human life that comes into this planet and this universe, is a big deal. And, if they can't, have a proper life, not saying they can grow up in poverty and get out of poverty and become really successful, but, a lot of times they're in really bad situations. They're malnourished. They're not taken care of as well because the mother didn't want them in the first place or whatever. It's just like there's so much more to it than just simply killing a baby. Just so people know that. I mean, they do know that, but
That is true too, Sean. And there's only one other thing I want to say that, and like I just told you how I felt about it. I got two sides of it, and they're conflicting. But there's one thing that people have to understand too when you talk about, well, why don't we just have the kid, young lady, have the kid and then put it up for adoption? A lot of times a woman won't want to do that because of the emotional thing involved. That's understandable, but there's another factor here too that I've heard people argue this with me, and it's a head scratcher that the baby gets put up for adoption and gets put into a really effed up situation and winds up becoming like treated like abused, and you know what I mean, this adopted child winds up in a really really
yeah,
bad
because
situation.
there's a lot of people who profit off taking in like lots of
Uh-huh.
kids. Like
Yep.
there's angels who have a lot of they support a lot of children who are like up for adoption.
Hmm.
They're in good situations, but then there's a lot of horrible situations where they live in terrible conditions, and the person taking care of them is collecting tax money from the government, and just like using most of the money for themselves and not spending it on the proper food and stuff for all the kids they're taking care of. That happens
Right.
a lot too.
Now, that's not a knock against the government. We're trying to look out for babies. What it's a knock against is the recipient of the money using it for something it's not intended for. That's the crime. But you can't knock off all the government funding because some assholes are, 10, 20% of the people who are adopting babies you can't punish the 80% that are doing it right for the 20% of what we can do is lock them up, that kind of a thing. But it's just one of those things. Again, it's not really the government funding that's the problem. It's the misappropriation of funds by these asshole people that, and there's a special place in hell for people to do that, I think. So
Yeah,
just one
exactly.
of my
Yeah,
things.
it's like there a lot of them end up in foster care, and foster care can be very a challenging way to grow up.
Yeah. Yeah. I've heard a lot of horror
They're
stories.
sleeping in bunk beds, they're eating spaghettios every night.
Yeah.
It's not a great life, but anyway.
Sexual abuse, all kinds of stuff.
Yep. All right, so that's the current event. As far as sports go, football season's over. NBA is an all-star break right now. You know, Joe, you said you're going to be watching more Flyers. Are you gonna start like what's gonna until baseball starts? Because we got a month. We got what are we in February? We got about like a month and a half till baseball starts.
This is the worst time of year for it. And I know the Birds lost and all that, but even right after Super Bowl Sunday, any year, it's just such a like this weekend. Oh my God, it's going to be. And they have this new football league starting up or whatever, but these things that they're never. It's not the NFL. It never will be. I may give that a peep. I don't know, but I'm going to I go through this withdrawal as a lot of NFL fans do. It's that week or two after the Super Bowl. It's just such a shock. It's just such a,
that's why, I'm a huge basketball fan so for me, it's actually like, I view it like more like positive. I'm like, oh wow, now on Sundays, I have a whole productive day. I can do other things besides being glued to my couch all day watching football. I can do other things. Plus like I said, I'm a huge basketball fan. I have basketball, like it just sucks now because the NBA doesn't come back till next Thursday, but I have college basketball. Like Villanova's playing tomorrow. March Madness is coming up. So that's one cool thing about being a sports fan of like many different sports.
Yeah.
It never really ends, man. The party never ends.
Oh yeah.
So I'm just curious from you, because you're a huge football guy, like how you going to deal with it? So when the Phillies do start, are you going to be locked into the Phillies?
I think I probably look. The Flyers are on.
We're going to talk sports in the show, so I'm just trying to. What type of sports do you want to talk about here?
Yeah, it's. I'll be locked into the Phillies when they come on. Anything that comes on, it's a cycle. Flyers, Phillies, Sixers. I'll be giving them a half-hearted look, but they are what I think they're going to be. They're going to be, quote, a pretty good team. BFD. Pretty good team, my ass. They're going to be a pretty good team. They're going to win a playoff series, maybe a second one. I doubt it, but maybe a second series. And they're going to fall short again. So that's what the Sixers are going to do. The Flyers are going to slowly, whatever. I'm just going to try to watch them grow. The Phils could be interesting because they lost to a better ball club, and that Houston team was just vicious. They really were. I didn't expect them to win that, but they won a couple games in that series. They picked up a few good players. They solidified their pitching rotation. So I'm going to be excited for, I guess, the Phillies to play ball.
Yeah. But as far as as I'm a huge Knicks fan, the Knicks are playing ever since we acquired Josh Hart. He's been
playing better. Yeah.
He's a godsend. This guy plays so hard. I knew it. I saw him at Villanova. He won a national title. He's a big time player. He probably should have won 2 national titles because in 2017 we lost to Wisconsin, but we also didn't have Amari Spellman. Amari Spellman was ruled out that year. If we had Amari Spellman that season, I'm fairly confident we could have won 2017, and then we won in 2018. Then we would have won 3 in a row instead of 2 in a row. So it's always what if. But anyway, Josh Hart is a great addition to the Knicks. And as far as Jalen Brunson go, what an all-star snub. Jalen Brunson's let's just say his last 5 games or last 7 games or whatever, back to January 31st. He scored 37 versus the Lakers, 41 versus the Clippers, 30 versus the Sixers, 38 versus the Jazz, 40 versus the Nets. And he's so efficient. Like he's shooting over 50% from the field, and he's a floor general. This guy is a phenomenal point guard, and the fact that he didn't make the All-Star game is a tragedy, but he is the best free agent sign the Knicks have had in years. And I couldn't be more happy as a Villanova fan and Knicks fan that everyone's seeing what the Villanova players bring to the NBA. Jay Wright really trained these players and coached them really well. We play offense and defense. We don't take plays off. We hustle. And all of our guys are thriving. I mean, Mikal Bridges, who just got traded from the Suns to the Nets, Mikal Bridges has scored 45 points the other night, 45 points. And he's not considered a big time scorer, but he's one of the best players in the NBA. He does a lot of little things. So I couldn't be prouder of the Nova guys in the NBA. As a Villanova fan, it's amazing following the guys from college into the NBA. I'm going to be talking a lot of Knicks. I'll be talking a lot of Villanova basketball as long as we're still alive. We can make the tournament if we win the Big East tournament, dude. Like I'm telling you, Joe, we're 13-13 right now. Ever since Justin Moore came back, we've been playing way better. I remember he ruptured his Achilles in the Elite Eight last year. He missed the Final Four game because that's another. If he played in the Final Four, dude, We could have won a title last year.
I
I'm telling you.
remember that, Sean. I remember
So
that. That was tough.
So kudos to him. Actually, it was interesting. While Justin Moore was recovering, Kevin Durant, I think they spoke on the phone, and Kevin Durant gave him really good advice because Kevin Durant had the identical injury as Justin Moore. Coming back from a ruptured Achilles is not easy.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, we're led on sports tonight, but come Monday, we're gonna have even if we don't have current sports every episode, I'm gonna do my little talk about the Knicks. I'm gonna do my little talk about Villanova
Yeah,
basketball.
that's okay.
I'm a Devils fan. The Devils are in second place in the Eastern Conference, I believe. The Devils are playing good. So I'm gonna, talk a little bit more about the Devils because if Joe, you want to talk about the Flyers, but we'll have some sports stories. Maybe we'll recap a game per episode. We'll pick out a classic game and
Yeah.
maybe we'll recap the game. We're not giving up on sports by any means, but
No.
just trying to figure out where we go from here while football season's in the off season.
Well, we touch on sports. We're not necessarily a sports program. Sports is one of the many things that we touch on. So we'll
And
touch on
I
sports.
honestly think, dude, like me and you, we can easily be on Sports Talk Radio, have our own just sports show. But this podcast is a variety, all encompassing topic type of show, and
Yeah,
we're more than sports. However,
much more.
if we want to delve into Sports Talk Radio and really pursue it and make this a sports dedicated show, we can do it. So,
Yeah.
for sure.
I kind of like the diversity and talk about other things. I love sports, but among other things. So, I like all the other stuff we do too. So
Yeah.
it is what it is, bro. What else?
Well, it's sports, and I guess we'll wrap up the show here, Joe. I mean, all the social media links are on the links: Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, and the floor is yours, Joe.
All work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. Bye.
Take care.